So welcome back. In previous lesson, we learned what are variables, what are data types. We also understood basic calculations, and we did all of this while using Python in Google Colab. I also gave you an assignment. We'll look at the assignment. So the assignment was what will be the results if we give this code and what will be the type of each of these. Okay, so each of these inputs, what will be the type for this? So for n we can see that the type is string. For 7 we can see the type is integer, but for 8 we can see that the type is string even though it's a numerical. So here we can understand that even if it's a numerical, but if it has inverted commas on both sides, Python will classify it as a string. In today's lesson, we will understand what are lists and how can we take input from the user. So the data scientists rarely work with a single value. Instead, they work with collections of data. For example, we can take monthly sales, we can take student marks, we can see product prices, we can even take temperatures. So all of these are not a single value. These are collections of data, right? So, and we can do all of this using lists. Okay, so we'll be using lists to create all these collections of data in Python. But first, let us understand how we can take user input. So until now, we have manually written values into our code. Here you can see that we have put in values manually, right? While writing the code only, we gave it a value. But what if we want users to provide their own value? For that, we use input function. Let's see how it is done. So let's say name is equal to, here we will put input, and with input we can also tell, okay, so we can also tell enter your name. So this will be displayed while this line of code is running, right? And in the next line, what we can write on is we can make this a print name. So let's see. Enter your name. Let's see, Neil, and then my name is Ispe. So very easy. So Python pauses. What is happening over here is Python will pause and wait for the user to type something. Whenever the user enters, whatever the user enters gets stored in the variable basically. So here the variable was name, and whatever the user entered got stored in the variable. So here the cool thing about this is we can also give a personalized message, just a a small Easter egg. Let's see. Name is equal to input wait input enter your name. But what if while the name gets displayed, we want a custom message? So here it will first ask for your name, and when it is displaying a custom message along with the name. It is very important to understand that Python will actually not give a data type to the input. The input is often treated as a text. So if you will say, let's take an example of age. Age age. You put age equals to input. So now, of course, if I'll put whatever I'll put a number in age, right? Print age. In reality, let's understand this. If the Python is asking for the age, right? And if I put my age as 45, and in the next line, it is printing 45, but then it is showing the class as string. It is not showing it as an integer or a float or any other number type. And why is it doing? It is doing this because the inputs, all inputs in Python are considered as strings or texts basically. So what do we do in these cases? In these cases, while the input is being taken, we will convert it into integer while it is being taken. Let's see how it is done. So age equals to, now int, this int, and rest of the thing will be same. Input enter your age. So basically in this, all other things are exactly the same as previous code, but here int is being used to tell Python that okay, I want the age to be converted into an integer, and hence in this case, let's take, if I'll put my age as 19, see, the class will be int basically in this case. And this method can also be, this input method can also be used to not just to display things, it can also be used to calculate things. Let's look at this. So we'll take this, copy this over there. But here what I want a mathematical calculation. Print age plus 20. So now whatever number I'll give, let's say if I'll give 70, it will show 90. And why it is possible? It is possible only because I converted it into an int. If I would have not converted into an integer, it would have not been possible. Let's move on to lists now. Imagine you want to store marks of multiple students or ages of multiple students basically. So if you want to create separate variables, it would be very difficult, very inefficient. Let's take example of this. Let's say instead of ages, let's take marks or even age. Let's mark 1 equals to 34, marks 2 equal to 45, marks 3 equals to 77, and so on. It will be very difficult if you want to store marks of multiple students. Let's say students have like 40 students or 30 students. It will be very difficult to keep on making variables again and again. So instead of doing this, we just use a variable named, we use a data type named list. So what do? Instead of writing all this, we can just do this. we can write on marks, and then we can make a list. We make a list using the square brackets in Python. So let's say 34 comma 45 comma 77. So see, instead of writing this again and again, we just made a list and it made our job very easy. So let's print this out. So now it became very easy to store multiple things in a single variable using a data type that is called list. And there are different kind of lists. So you can use not just there is no need to only use list for numbers. You can also use list for string and float and other things, right? So let's say names equals to Sakshi, Neha, Sean. Of course, what we are missing over here is we are missing the inverted commas to tell Python that all of these are actually string. So now you can see that we did this. Wait, I think we'll use single, but anyways, if I'll print this out, so see all the names in the list have been shown. So see, the lists are not just limited to numbers, they can be used for multiple things. But here's the important thing about list. Every item in the list has a position. Supposedly, if I want to just call out the first name over here, which is Sakshi, if I just want to call out the first name, how do I do that? I do that using its position. And in Python, the counting starts from 0. It's very important to understand that. So let's say print names. And which name do I want to call out? I only want to call out the first name over here. So now if I'll just call out the first name, which starts like the list, the counting starts from 0 in Python. So first name, which is on the position 0, will be called out. And of course, similarly, you can call out the second name also. The second name will be obviously 1. So now we can use different things to print things together, like show things together. Let's say print welcome, and then comma names. Let's call out a name over here. Okay, wait. Obviously, there is no name on the third. Like, if you want to call out the third person, we'll use the index 2. So, hi, welcome, John over here. So here with this, we can also understand the list starts from 0. Hence, Sneha will be on the position 1 and John will be on the position 2. So hence we can also use list to list out things like this. But here's an interesting thing about lists. If we don't know how many entries are there in the list, which can happen multiple times, and we want to call out the last entry, we can simply use negative numbers. So we can write something like print names, and if I use -1 over here, it will automatically call out the last entry. So hence the negative indexing starts from the end. And now we'll understand how we can modify the list. So very important thing about lists are flexible. We can change values even after creating the list. Let's look at this. Let's say marks are 88. Okay, 82, 23, 78, and I created this list. But I then realized, okay, then the marks on the second position are incorrect. So in this case, what we will do is we will edit this out. We can edit this out using this method marks. So we'll call this out. We'll call the position out. So second 23. I don't think anybody got 23 marks, and I want to write out basically 93 was the marks gotten by the second person. So wait this. Let's see, has it been changed? So here, so of course it has been changed. The second position has been changed. And if we want to add something new on the list, what do? We can use the function append. Let's say marks dot append. What this will do is I want to just append one number to the marks. Now hence I believe after being appended there will be a list of 4 numbers. Let's look at the list now. There are 4 numbers. So append function adds a new item to the end of the list basically. Almost every data set starts as a collection of values. Lists are a first step towards real world data. As it was in the previous session, the assignments will go like this. I will give you a code and you have to predict what will be the output of the code. Let's take numbers equals to 10, 23, 45. So what? Okay, next thing is number. Okay. Print so I wanted to tell me what will be the output in this case. But again, in this case, what will be the output in this case? numbers 0 is equal to 12. Let's tell me, and the last part will be what will be the output in this case. So all of these will be the assignments. Take a look, predict the output, and then run the code, and then see whether your prediction is correct or not. So here we understood what is basically a user input, how to convert a user input. What are lists? We understood how do we access list items. We understood how do we modify lists, and we also understood how can we add new values to the list.